Hello, and welcome to Rock the Cash Bar. I'm Ben Mowbray.
And I'm Dianne Gallagher.
Every week, we pick one song and do a deep dive into the lyrics and explore the different ways they've been interpreted.
We will also discuss how the song connected to us on a personal level, focusing on all the embarrassing details.
Glad to have you here. Now enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of Rock the Cash Bar. How are you doing? How is your quarantine
It's a
treating
little
you?
better today. I'm guessing you were talking to me and not the audience because I'm the only one that can answer you.
Yes.
But Diane's in a better mental state this time.
Excellent. I'm getting worse and worse.
I'm
I'm not
sorry.
improving at all.
What'd you do today?
I reached the level of mean-spirited shut-in where I'm not even scrolling the internet anymore so much as I'm actively looking for emotions to invalidate. I'm looking for people to upset for no reason. Just classic troll me. I haven't acted on it, but I'm definitely reading people's posts and just thinking things like, you're wrong to think that. You're wrong to feel that way. I'm pretty sure everything about you is twisted and foul.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We're together on
Absolutely.
this. I usually don't give a shit about internet conspiracy theorists, but today I'm like, well, I'm not even as mad as I'm like, you are so highly entertaining right now. And dumb. So dumb. It's a level of narcissistic know-it-all that blows my mind.
I can't even imagine it. I don't even fathom where a lot of these people are coming from. I need to have a no cell phone day. I just want to just turn the phone off and just throw it in a drawer. It's I'm not dealing with the world today. I just want to go outside. The birds are still chirping.
Yes.
It's still a lovely day in Houston, Texas. There's plenty of things you can get out there and enjoy if you like long walks and being isolated from people. But I just I can't. The level of negativity that I've got to in my own mind is really starting to frighten me. I'm not usually that way. But I'm honestly looking at people and just you're a horrible person. I'm going to look at your astrology chart and I'm going to cross-reference it with my cryptozoology files because I'm certain that you are not a child of God. You're a werewolf or some kind of chimera. Is that how you pronounce that word?
I don't even know what that is.
Chimera. Chimera. This is I guess this is how bad it's getting because it's one of those words that I know, but I also had to promise myself you can't ever say that in public. You don't even know how to pronounce it. You're going to look like an idiot. But now I'm willing to risk it.
I'll look it up later and I'll pretend to know what you mean.
Dianne, this is going to be a weird one. I'm a little nervous about this
one. Okay, hold on. I have a really good dressed up like a douche.
Oh, yes.
Okay. This week's dressed up like a douche comes from our listener, Samantha Waltz. I don't know how to say her last name. I think I'm saying it right. Woltz. She said when she was a very young girl, she thought Madonna's Vogue, when she says Ginger Rogers danced on air, she thought it was Gingivitus dance on air.
I am with you on that one. I had that for a while when I was a kid. Not gingivitis. I thought that was actually, I thought that was the word too.
Well, she says in her defense, Listerine commercials were very prevalent at the time.
Listerine was very important to those things. I'm using Vogue from now on, anytime I want to answer in the affirmative. Anybody ask me anything, Ben, can you make me another martini? Ben, can you go grab that? Vogue.
Vogue. Are you going to do any kind of Vogue hand gesture with it?
I suppose I could. Vogue.
Vogue. Yes.
Vogue. What does Vogue mean to you? Vogue means I'll get right on it.
I like it. I've adopted that with you. Let's make it a thing. See if we can start something here.
Rock the Cash Bar. Vogue. Today's episode is going to focus on Like a Prayer.
Life is a mystery. That one.
Everyone must stand alone.
Hey, by the way, my friend Michelle texts me. She goes, Ben likes to break out in song a lot, doesn't he? Said you should see him do karaoke. Woo! It's good.
When I'm feeling safe and secure, I'll break out in song. When I'm being brittle and defensive, I'm not very likely to break out in song. But when I'm relaxed, there's 2 inches missing out of my rum bottle already this afternoon. I might be doing a lot of singing along today. Especially because I'm nervous. We're going to be talking about Like a Prayer, which means we are going to be 2 white people discussing religion, race, and gender in a public forum.
It's okay. America's used to that.
Yeah, they'll be fine with that. You're going to get to it. This is a fascinating song, if only for all of the controversy that it caused.
Yep.
I didn't, when I was doing a little bit of research on it, I forgot what year it came out, but it's 87, 88, somewhere like that, right?
89.
89. Okay,
Yep.
so I was 9 years old. I don't remember the first time that I heard Like a Prayer. I don't even, I grew up in a world, like I don't remember a world without Madonna.
Oh, really?
Madonna's like, yeah,
No, I
Monsters
very
Out,
much
it's
do.
great.
I
Oh,
very
really?
much do. I was born in 77, so I'm not that much older than you, but you know, every year kind of counts when you're that age. I just, well, the funny thing is, like, I remember when Material Girl came out. I remember like some of the, and Lucky Star, and
Mm-hmm.
being as fascinated with Madonna as the rest of the world was. And I thought my mom looked like Madonna because she had the mole in the same exact spot on her above her
Yes.
lip.
Mm-hmm.
So I forced my mom to let me dress her up like Madonna, like do her makeup and her hair and everything. And my mom was, she was cool enough to go along with it because she loved her too.
Do you have pictures of that?
No, I mean, if we had had cell phones back then, I'm sure they would exist, but it was
Yeah.
such a thing on a whim, and we didn't have film in our camera, so no.
It's a shame that that's lost forever. Moms dressed like Madonna would be a great Tumblr.
Yep, I agree. I do remember this video though, and I remember being very, very intrigued, but we will talk about the video later. We will focus on the song first.
I don't think that there's a song that's tied more closely to its video than Like a Prayer. Like maybe Thriller, maybe Take on Me by Aha.
True. Yeah.
Take on Me. But those two songs, like the Thriller and the Thriller video, are basically the same thing. But I think Like a Prayer and Like a Prayer's video send completely different messages.
They do. And she kind of, she wrote it with one thing in mind, and then she did the video with a melding of ideas in mind. So she didn't write this song with that video in mind. You know, they are very separate.
Yeah. And this song, like I remember when this came out, this was hugely controversial. So let's do the lyrics. This is Like a Prayer, and let's do a little thought experiment if we can. Let's try to forget that this is a Madonna song. It's going to be, it's impossible to do. Obviously, it's linked to her, but if you can, imagine that you've never heard these lyrics before.
Got it.
Like a prayer. Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone. I hear you call my name, and it feels like home.
That sounds very sweet.
It really does. When you call my name, it's like a little prayer. I'm down on my knees. I want to take you there. In the midnight hour, I can feel your power. Just like a prayer, you know I'll take you there. I hear your voice. It's like an angel sighing. I have no choice. I hear your voice. Feels like flying. I close my eyes. Oh God, I think I'm falling out of the sky. I close my eyes. Heaven help me. This drips with sincerity.
Yeah, sincerity. And to me, just, you know, if I was just reading it up to this point, it just sounds like a love letter.
Yeah, it could be a love letter. It's definitely a hymn. And when you call my name, it's like a little prayer. I'm down on my knees. I want to take you there. In the midnight hour, I can feel your power. Just like a prayer, you know I'll take you there. It's a love song. Yeah. It's a love song. It's a hymnal. Obviously, it's talking about prayer. So there's obviously religious imagery in there. Yep. I'm down on my knees. You get down on your knees to pray, of course. It's like a dream. No end and no beginning. You're here with me. It's like a dream. Let the choir sing. There's more religious imagery there. But those are they basically repeat the chorus over and over again. There's just a couple of subtle changes to the lyrics there. Just like a prayer, your voice can take me there. You're just like a muse to me. You are a mystery. Just like a dream, you're not what you seem. Just like a prayer, no choice. Your voice can take me there. This is a hymn.
Yes, it very much sounds like a church hymn.
Mm-hmm. It really, really does. Like the controversy around this song only comes from the fact that it was sung by Madonna. All the controversy comes from whatever your preconceived notions of Madonna are, or however Madonna has presented herself in the past. That's the only place that the controversy comes from. Try another thought experiment. What if somebody else did this song? What if it was somebody who had a little more like public trust than Madonna does? Like if somebody was like less volatile with the imagery. What if it was America's greatest songwriter? Or what if it was Johnny Cash? What if Johnny Cash did Like a Prayer?
I hear your voice. It's like an angel sighing. Oh yeah, we'd feel that so hard.
In the midnight hour, I can feel your power. Just like a prayer, you know I'll take you there. This would have been like America's love letter to Jesus. This would have been, it would be like America had risen all as one to praise him on the holiest high. Like,
it would be sang in churches.
Absolutely, it would be. If your kid came home from Sunday school and said, I've written this poem about how I feel when I'm in church trying to interact with the Lord, you would think it was the nicest, sweetest thing that anyone had ever done. It would stay on your fridge until you're 95 years old.
Yeah, you would give it to your preacher.
Absolutely, you would. Absolutely, you would. There's nothing here that's sacrilegious or any kind of controversy whatsoever. If you want to, you could, like you say, you could read it as a love song, or you could read it as a prayer, and it works both ways. And it's sweet both ways. It's warm and welcoming both ways.
Imagine Dolly Parton singing it in her sweet little country voice.
It would have been the greatest thing ever. It absolutely would have been. How would that have been received? Like it would be Dolly Parton's greatest song.
Maybe a step under I Will Always Love You. And just like I Will Always Love You, we could have taken it to Whitney Houston and just power ballad this thing.
Oh, that would have been, that's another thought experiment. Like what would it be like in the hands of Whitney Houston in a crooner like that? But it's not. It's in the hands of Madonna, and Madonna deliberately seeks controversy. Yep. She does, for sure. I'm not sure I believe that she was seeking the kind of controversy that she got with this song. Like, I think that she took this song very seriously. Like, I don't think, like, obviously she's deliberately courting controversy, but I think she was trying to do it in a very respectful, responsible, and mature way with Like a Prayer.
So do I. And then, and when we get to the video, I'll reiterate that, because her vision for this video was very positive. The only people it was negative towards are racists.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the video then. So the video opens with and quite by coincidence, it opens with that guitar clanging.
Guess who did that?
Who did that, Dianne?
She wanted Prince to offer something for this song, and the guitar riff you hear in the very beginning, that is from Prince.
If you're talking about sex and sensuality, you're going to need a guitar lick from Prince. There's no accidents. Like when it comes to a recording or anything that winds up on screen, if it's put together by a thoughtful person, there's no accident. But every time I heard Like a Prayer when I was younger, I didn't really understand, or I had no reason for why. Okay, why is there this guitar riff that then never crops up ever again? And I think it's Madonna's way of sort of like slamming the door. Like maybe I'm being a real dude about this, but I think that's her way as a lady of saying, like, we're slamming the door on this male stuff. If the guitar is an extension of the penis, then we're not going to have that. It's like, it's the guitar riff, the door is slammed, and then there's sirens, and you never hear the guitar again. Like, I really do think that that's part of the message that she's trying to say. I don't know. Maybe that's a bong rip thing, but I do think that's part of it.
I will say, sirens. Real quick, before we get into just the video, Patrick Leonard is the guy that co-wrote the song with her. And I will say that in the research, it said when they were writing the song together, he didn't really love the line, "I'm down on my knees, I want to take you there," because he said it sounded too much like oral sex, but she demanded that the line stay in. And I think that's just a guy hearing it as oral sex. And she's like, no. And if people want to think that, let them think that, but that's not how she wrote it.
Yeah, and how, like, if you're Madonna speaking, like, how she's got to be thinking to herself, like, how am I supposed to say that I want to get down on my knees and pray without it sounding like oral sex? Like, it's like she's demanding the right to be able to use the same language that the rest of us use, which makes a huge amount of sense to me. But there's sirens. Madonna's on the run from something. It's all dark and gray. She trips and falls. And then that's sort of when the music for the song starts, right? It cuts to, there's men in an alley and they're assaulting a woman. It's worth noting, because it's no doubt deliberate, that the men doing the assaulting are all white men. I think there's 3 or 4 of them. And they are assaulting a woman. Madonna was assaulted in New York City when she was young, before she was famous, before she was Madonna. She was assaulted at knife point, and she was, you know, forced to perform oral sex on men on the streets of New York, which is obviously something that's going to stick with her. I guess it's uncomfortable to talk about these sort of things, but I guess what I'm trying to point out is that Madonna is an artist, and Madonna is trying to reflect her own personal experience, and she's trying to do it through a language that we all understand. Whatever level of you're born into, if you're in America, you're essentially born into a Christian society, or a really heavily influenced Christian society. So she's trying to use that language to express what has happened to her, and how she feels in the world. And obviously that event shaped her in ways that I think you're about to see in
and
the
the
song.
girl in the video looks just like her. She's got the same
Yes.
hair and everything.
Absolutely. And not for nothing, Madonna, brunette in this video.
Yes.
You think that's, yeah, I always thought of that as like kind of a humanizing effort on her part. Like, instead of being like fabulous blonde, you know, unattainable, flashy Madonna, she's making herself kind of a more muted sexuality. She's trying to turn it off.
Yeah, she's
like,
dressed down a little bit, no wacky jewelry. She's back to her roots, her literal hair color, and yeah, she's not showing off on this. She wants you to see that this is actually her.
Mm-hmm. So in the outside world, it's all cold grays, you know, like you know, black and white tones and everything like that. She sees a church, but inside the church you can see the candles glowing. Everything inside the church is welcoming, is friendly, is warm, is it's full of light. You know, it's the world outside of the church that's cold and awful.
Yeah.
Symbolically, metaphorically, like clearly what Madonna is doing is saying like there's strength inside the church that doesn't exist anywhere in the outside world. Like, it's
and
entirely
a sense of
pro-church.
home and coziness. You can tell
Exactly.
she's so happy to be there.
She goes into the church and she looks around, and there's candles, and then there's a saint in a cage, and it's a black saint, and of course it famously, you know, comes to life. And as it's coming to life, that's when Madonna is singing for the first time. Says, "I hear you call, I hear your voice. It feels like home." Right. So she's at home. She's in church, and she is home. Right after she says, "I hear you call my name, and it feels like home," the video kind of cuts back into the alley, and for the first time we see the black character get arrested. And at this point in the video, we don't know why. All we're seeing is this guy who looks a lot like, how do you pronounce it, Jean-Michel Basquiat?
Yeah, he looks like Basquiat, who Madonna dated like back in 1982. I don't know if she purposely had the actor look like Basquiat as a throwback to Basquiat, but he kind of looks like him.
I'm pretty sure that she did. The likeness is way too close for it not to be. We don't know why he's getting arrested at this point, but we see him getting arrested, and we don't see any of the men who were assaulting the lady getting arrested. Obviously, the song kind of goes into the chorus as the statue of the saint comes to life. The tear famously rolls down his cheek, and that's when Madonna sings, "In the midnight hour, I can feel your power." So it's obviously none of these are accidental. Like, obviously you want the images to match what the words are. So clearly Madonna is saying that it's like, I believe in this power. This is something that I subscribe to. I hear your voice. It's like an angel sighing. I have no choice. I hear your voice. Right. That's when she kind of goes into the dream sequence. She sort of lays back on the church pew, and she's still in the church is still all the same sort of like golden hues and everything like that. But then the color scheme changes entirely for the only time in the video that it does it. It turns into like a clear blue sky with lots of white fluffy clouds, you know, like everything's very peaceful. She's tumbling through the sky, and then she sort of falls down into the hands of a choir singer, a black choir singer, who sort of holds her by the hips. They smile at each other, and then the choir singer sort of lifts Madonna up by the hips and puts her back up into the sky. So she's obviously gone to church. She's been called into church, which is the only welcoming place in the world. She's felt the power, and then she's been launched into some kind of like heavenly state. Where in the world is there any negativity in any of this so far?
No.
Like, I don't see it at all. I don't understand where the controversy came from in the first place. Like, anyway,
it comes.
So the angel releases Madonna into the sky. And then we see Madonna kiss the feet of the saint. And at that point, Madonna is, I'm not a devoutly religious man. I don't go to church every Sunday. I don't know chapter and verse. but you can tell the symbolism there. Like she's literally kissing the feet of the saint. Like she
Right.
is almost where every Christian desires to be, at the foot of the Messiah.
Right.
And she's there sincerely. She's there because of a trauma that she's witnessed. She's there because she's reliving an experience. She's just watched a woman have the most traumatic experience of Madonna's own life, and she immediately runs to church to start seeking strength, to start finding that inside of her. There's no negativity here whatsoever. She opens the cage of the statue that the saint is kept in, and she touches his face, and the statue comes to life. And the saint, and this is, I think, where the controversy really starts to start, the saint sort of touches her shoulder and kind of cups her head, and he leans in behind her, so you can't really see, are they kissing or not? I don't think that they are.
It looks like he just kisses her on the cheek at that point.
If even that. Like I think he just whispers in her ear, because then he pulls back and he kisses her on the forehead. There's nothing sexual about that kiss whatsoever.
Not at
like
all.
It looks to me, for all the world, like a father saying goodbye to his daughter. Like it doesn't. There's nothing sensual. There's nothing. This is not how you approach a lover at all. And at that point, the saint turns and leaves and goes out into the world. So I think the implication there is obvious that Madonna has come to the church, and seeking church sanctuary, Madonna has unleashed the strength of the church. I don't see anything negative about it so far. But that's when she picks up the knife, and she squeezes the blade, she cuts her hand, and that's when she looks down at her hands and sees the stigmata, the wounds, Jesus's wounds on the cross. And that's when they sing, let the choir sing. And then it's a joyful choir. Like it's what's the word? Am I going to pronounce it right? Ebullient choir.
Yes, this isn't sad. Everybody's very happy in this moment, very joyful. The black church that Dianne wishes she had grown up in. It's that moment.
And of course, it's being led by the angel whose arms that she fell into. So Madonna then leaves the church, and she sees the woman being assaulted again in an alley. And this is the similar way that she was assaulted. And the Madonna in the video seems frozen in place. Like she doesn't shout, she doesn't run towards the assault. She just seems kind of like rooted. And when you know this about Madonna, and you kind of like get an idea of what you think she might be saying, you can see that this is obviously her saying that I was full of fear. Like I was full of fear in the moment that it happened to me, and I'm full of fear in the moment that I'm watching it happen to another woman. But she's just been to this church where she's unleashed the power of this church, and that's when the man comes to the rescue. The man who bears a resemblance to the saint who has come to life comes barreling down the fire escape. The other men scatter, and as he's cradling the woman who's been assaulted and stabbed in the side, exactly the same way that Jesus was stabbed in the side on the cross, that's when the police searchlight focuses in on his face, and he's arrested. And then there's kind of an exchange where Madonna looks at one of the white men who was assaulting this woman, and they kind of exchange this look where Madonna's obviously like, he's looking at her with this weird sort of smirk, and she looks back at him with just nothing but spite, and just is like, okay, I'm going to make this right. Like I found the strength to make this right, which is the clear message of the video, that Madonna has gone to church. She's found the strength to deal with what has happened to her in the past.
Yeah, to finally go speak up.
Mm-hmm. Now I get the chance. And that's when the video cuts to probably what was some of the most controversial imagery, and that's Madonna kind of dancing, and she's singing this not lighthearted, but she's singing the lyrics to Like a Prayer in front of burning crosses, which is loaded imagery. Like she's obviously flirting with controversy. She's doing it deliberately. I think she's doing it wholeheartedly and responsibly, but she's obviously picking at some very, very deep wounds there.
It's good, and it's super powerful imagery, and I cannot understand why people got so mad, because if you weren't born yesterday, you know that the Ku Klux Klan burns crosses. This is such a deliberate message against racism, and the fact that people said it was blasphemy just blows my mind.
I think it's because they don't trust Madonna to deliver that message. Like, everybody knows that these are crazy, dicey issues and horrendous to try to discuss, and we don't trust our 25-year-old pop princess sensations to communicate it fairly and accurately.
Yeah.
I think in this case we should have. I think we grossly overreacted at the time. I'd just like to see those late 80s Reagan moralists take a stand on this now.
They probably still would.
Now's the time to rise up.
So yeah, and then she's back in front of the choir and it's super joyful. Everyone's having a good time. She's dancing, and maybe some people had an issue with her dress is very tight and there's a lot of cleavage, and she's really bouncing around and throwing her hair around in church. But okay, oh, and then, the saint comes back in and he does kiss her on the mouth at this point. And I saw it written that it was an erotic scene between her and the saint. And I was like, oh my God, you tight asses. A kiss on the lips is not erotic. There was no tongue. There was no groping. It was just a kiss on the lips.
But even symbolically, like he's no longer a saint, right? He's the man who just rescued this woman. Like he's a hero, and she is responding to that, right? Like I think the message is that the power of the Lord went out of the church and went into this very human male. The power that Madonna released, went into this human male who came down and rescued this woman. And now Madonna has fallen for him, which makes an awful lot of spiritual sense. Like, isn't that the story that you'd really like? Like, wouldn't you want to fall in love with somebody who's been filled with a spirit that you've given them?
For sure.
Like, I think, like, to me, this is a very, very Christian love story, and I've no doubt that this was Madonna's intention the whole way along. And she wants to shock you with it, but then if you look beneath the surface, you can see that she's being very sincere, that she's being very responsible with all of the imagery that she was supposedly using to court controversy and sell albums and make herself even more famous still. Beneath that is a very powerful message that she's trying to deliver, and that's what artists do. Right. I think the controversy comes from the fact that we just wouldn't want to allow someone like Madonna at that time to deliver that message. That's what made us nervous. It wasn't the message that was delivered, however deeply or shallowly you want to look at it. It was just because it's Madonna.
It was the messenger. Yeah, they weren't happy with the messenger.
Mm-hmm. But I didn't see that. I mean, that kiss was certainly erotic, but it wasn't. It was romantic. Is I think probably a better word for it.
It was kind and romantic. Yes, we want to put any kind of eroticism on Madonna because what she's done before and after this song, but this specific was not erotic to me.
Mm-hmm.
Masturbating on a bed.
Yeah, that's probably.
That is. We can all agree on that.
Probably doesn't merit the deep dive. But that's like when she's dancing in front of the burning crosses, but then it cuts to her dancing with the choir. Mm-hmm. And she's dancing not for nothing. She's dancing exactly the same way. Like it's as soon as the setting changes, as soon as it comes from the terror of the burning crosses to the warmth of the church, you see that the movements that she's making with her body aren't suggestive at all. They're joyful, they're relaxed. Like she's greeting one of the young boys singing in the choir entirely wholesomely. Like yes. I could see people sort of like being on edge, like, oh Lord, what's she doing with that? The kid's probably like 12 years old or something like that. Around the time that boys my age were looking at Madonna, like, no, isn't she lovely? Like I could see people that being dicey, but there's no hint of any kind of sexuality there whatsoever. No, it's just a gleeful rejoice that's happening there. The Jesus statue kind of returns like into its ceremonial cage, and then it loses its human form. It loses its power, and then Madonna goes to the police station. And if you're looking closely, you can see. I'm not a lip reader, but it certainly looks to me like he's saying that she is saying he didn't do it. Yeah, he didn't do it. And then the cop grabs the keys and lets the man out of jail, and the curtain falls, and it's the end. And that's our story, and the story of Like a Prayer. I don't see the controversy. I see a lot of sincerity.
I do too. And it's so ridiculous looking back. Like I was such a child when this came out, and I just knew there was controversy, and I knew that religious people were mad at her. And I just, I didn't know anything back then. I was like, oh, is it bad to burn a cross? Like, is it bad to kiss a black man? Is that why they were mad? Like, I just did not understand. But now watching it again, I got a little furious about that this became a controversy. And I was like, you know what? We're no better today. It probably happened again today.
I get frustrated about it because it goes to an argument that I see in a lot of places, like when you hear I don't know why the bands can't just play the hit songs. Why does it always have to be about politics?
Yeah.
The guys like going to like a Neil Young concert, like it was great until he started railing against what do you think art is? Like the only reason you learn to play an instrument or write or sing or act is because you have thoughts and feelings that you want to communicate to people. That's what art and artists do.
Yeah. It's the same thing in a comedy show when a comedian takes a stance on a political thing and people are like, just tell your jokes. I'm like, no, this is the joke. I'm sorry.
You're going to have to be a little bit more mature about it and deal with it to come to some kind of reconciliation with it, which is obviously what she's asking you to do. I mean, Madonna was herself from a Catholic family. I mean, that it imparts. Like, I don't come from a very religious family, so maybe my opinion on it is badly skewed, but I just don't think that you can take a kid into a church where you have this really violent imagery, like the man up on the cross. This guy has died and suffered for you. You owe it to him to go live your life. Like that's really, really powerful imagery. To expect a kid to come out the other side of that, especially an artistic kid, and not expect them to try to translate that to the others who went through it.
Yeah.
Is
For our younger listeners, if we have any, we should quickly explain what the controversy was as far as the Pepsi endorsement. So this was where it went crazy. Like, so there was this thing called the Cola Wars back then. It was basically Coke versus Pepsi, which is insane. And Pepsi was spending a lot of money getting, high dollar celebrities to endorse their product. And so this was the first song by a major artist to be used in a commercial before being released to the stores or radio stations. Pepsi had signed Madonna to a $5 million endorsement deal, which included a 2-minute commercial that would debut this song. And so the commercial showed Madonna watching an 8-year-old version of herself doing some jubilant street dancing. And so everybody saw and heard the song first on that commercial. And then the video came out and all hell broke loose. And religious groups, including the Vatican, immediately protested the video, saying it showed blasphemous use of Christian imagery, and called for a boycott of Pepsi and all of its subsidiaries. And then Pope John Paul II got involved and encouraged fans to boycott the singer in Italy altogether. Pepsi tried to explain the differences between their advertisement and her artistic opinions in the video, but later just had to give in to the protest and canceled the campaign.
Yeah. It's kind of on that level where I'm sympathetic to the people who were offended, because if you were going to use my Messiah, if you were going to use my sincerely held religious beliefs to sell cola, I'd be really, really upset.
Just on that.
That's gonna bother me. That's definitely gonna leave a welt. But I'd like to think that I would have listened to the song, looked at the lyrics, watched the video. I mean, it's a 5-minute video. You can follow the story pretty quickly. Like I would hope that even if I was that offended, like this is crash commercialism, you're going to use this to sell this little pop starlet, I'm not going to accept that. But if I then listened to this song and saw that video, I hope that I would think that I was watching, what's the word? A fellow parishioner, a fellow traveler, like someone who has the same myth in her heart, explaining it to the masses, however she understood it. Like I'd like to think that I would have that kind of strength, but I don't know if I would. Like there are definitely combinations of artists and commercialism that I don't think I would give that kind of sympathy to.
Okay. Well, it's not like it affected Madonna or in MTV in any kind of negative way. I mean, this was a huge win for both of them.
Yeah.
Pepsi had 2 more commercials planned and was going to sponsor her Blonde Ambition tour, but they dropped all association with Madonna, who got to keep her $5 million. And then because it was a controversy, everyone just became obsessed with this song, and it made everybody a lot of money.
Still a great danceable hit, man. I spent the last couple of days dancing and singing to it.
Yeah, Corbin told me this is his all-time favorite Madonna song. He thinks it's great.
Yeah, I think it's definitely her most thoughtful, her most thought-provoking song. I don't
I
know
think
if
she
it's my
really
favorite.
came into adulthood. She was 30 when she did this. She had just turned 30, and it really,
Was she really?
yeah, it really started separating her from the younger pop star she used to be into like, hey, I am a thoughtful Christian woman. It's like
Mhm.
deeply Catholic woman. I need you to see this side of me too.
Like, if you want to see it, if you allow me to show it to you,
Yeah.
which is kind of strange when you think of all the things that Madonna had shown us before and after. She was like, okay, well, this is the part of me that's really important.
It's also just like Prince. It's like, hey, you can be a very sexual, openly sexual human, but hey, that's not all there is to me. I'm also deeply religious, and these things don't have to be separate.
Hmm.
I
And
will
never should
say,
have been in the first place.
yeah, and I will say, going back to in the research, some of Madonna's own words and ideas. She said she described Like a Prayer as the song when she wrote it, not the video, about a passionate young girl so in love with God that it is almost though he were the male figure in her life. So the love that she has for God is not sexual or naughty in any way. It's just like a pure family love. It's a father figure love.
Yeah, and I'm always reminded of a quote from Bono when conversations like this start. Bono was a very, very religious guy. And he said once, he goes, I think, and this is typical Bono arrogance, he's like, I think I've figured out what God is. God is love, and how I respond to that love is the practice of my religion. And I think that's what Madonna is doing here. Like how does a lady, respond to love? How does a lady respond to a
Yeah.
man who's got the bravery to go and stand up to the things that she was afraid to go and stand up to? She responds to it by kissing him.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I like it. I will say that the choir that you hear in the song, it's by the I don't know if I'm going to say his name right, the Andre Crouch Gospel Choir, but they refused to be in the video. They were supposed to be in the video. When Crouch examined the lyrics, he approved of the religious imagery, but when he saw plans of the sexually charged video, he pulled his choir from the clip. So the choir you see are actors.
Mhm.
And it still made me mad again. Like, how could this choir guy see the video and say that it was sexually charged and completely miss the whole point of the point of the video is that the wrong man went to prison for this crime, you know?
Mhm. I
Um,
think it's just a risk that he wasn't willing to take. Like you're talking about, if you're a choir director, then obviously religion is crazy, crazy important to you, and to entrust the delivering of that message to Madonna
yeah.
is a huge, big risk to take. It's a gigantic risk.
It's just
Like,
the detail of the sexually charged. I mean, god damn, we've seen way more sexually charged videos, especially in the 80s. Like a kiss
hmm
on the lips is not sexually charged. Makes me so
hmm
mad. But it just makes me love the song and the video more. Seeing it again in the eyes of a 42-year-old woman these days, I'm like, God, I wish the message would have sunk in when I was
hmm
like 9, 10, 11, 12, when I was 12 and I saw it. I wish I had understood it better at the time.
It would be interesting to see if there's anything that a pop star could do today that could raise that level of controversy. I just don't think it's possible anymore, because I think we can go like now we have Twitter and internet comment sections where we can talk about the minutia of these things, right?
Right.
Like back when this song came out, like the media was just like your local newspaper and USA Today, and then cable news, which had yet to go 24/7. So maybe the only facts that you would learn is there's this crazy video on MTV where Madonna is making fun of Jesus, and if that's all you ever hear and the only part of the conversation you ever have, then it bubbles over.
Well, the
You don't.
good thing is they say it wasn't everybody who took offense to this. They said it was mostly older people and, obviously the Pope. But I think the majority
Mhm.
of the people got it back then that would get it now, like understood and just fought for it and loved it and made her millions because they got it.
Right. It made her the biggest star on planet Earth.
Yeah. Such a great song.
Yes.
I encourage everybody to not only go listen to the song, but go watch that video and see it through the sweet light that we see it in. And listen to this song and imagine Dolly Parton and Johnny Cash singing it as a duet. You'll see it
Absolutely.
differently.
Absolutely. Imagine Johnny Cash coming down that fire escape and rescuing that lady.
Yes.
A different story altogether. I love Madonna. I love her. Still, and also, have you ever been to England? You went to Ireland just last
I've
year,
been to
right?
Ireland. That's all.
We make fun of Madonna for her fake English accent, but I defy you to go to, if you're an American, to go to England and not start talking about how you're watching the telly or going back to your flat, because it will happen to you. It's just natural. Not because you're.
I would.
Oh, I do it all the time. Like my
I
family's
can't
from
help
there.
it. I adapt to a new place so fast. I was born and raised in Texas, and I went to Seattle for the first time when I was 18. And when no one else is saying y'all, everyone is saying you guys, it all of a sudden felt weird to me to say y'all, and I dropped it and I never said it again. I started saying you guys immediately and it started flowing, and I was like, this feels better. And I came back to Texas, and it really wasn't purposeful. I wasn't denying my Texas roots, because when I get drunk, I say fixin' to, I say all of it. I mean, it really comes out. But I dropped y'all because it's actually kind of hard to say on my mouth. Like y'all, it's easier and faster just to say you guys. And I've been saying you guys ever since.
Yeah, it's because you want to be understood. You go. I say ma'am. Like when I'm in Texas, I call people ma'am. But if you go to Los Angeles or New York and you start calling people ma'am, they get offended.
Oh, like you're an old lady?
Yeah, and I used to stick to it, thinking like, no, this is my Southern manners. Eventually, you're going to find it charming. You're not eventually going to find it charming. Just speak the language that the people speak.
Well, I had a joke once. The ma'am thing hits me hard because I had a joke once that I knew I had lost my youthful sexiness when Black men started calling me ma'am instead of say. Say, girl. Like that was a guy, and it was a Black man in a parking lot, and he was like, ma'am, and I dropped something out of my cart, and I was like, oh man. It used to be say, can I talk to you?
I'm kind of from the other side of that, like just being a guy. Like eventually there was a point around like when I was 35, like I am way too old to be shouting at women outside of like up the passenger window. Like just don't. It's over. It's over.
Did you do that? Were
No,
you like,
I
hey,
never
girl?
did that. I never did that. But it did occur to me once, like around the time I was 35, I was just like, man, I am not old enough to be her dad, but I am old enough to make her really uncomfortable when she goes to the beach.
You really realize that, no, like you have like, oh, I'm gonna say something. You're like, oh no, look at the guys she's actually talking to. I'm a creep.
Yeah, I have that really bad. Like in my head, like I definitely have to go. Like I'll have the bad joke or the bad like, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. I'll often just like drop my head and like turn like, don't. Count to 30, wait till the moment passes.
Well, that's a wrap on Like a Prayer. Are you ready for guilty pleasure songs?
Guilty pleasures.
I am ready for guilty pleasure songs, but I'm gonna be honest with you. This is honestly a guilty pleasure song. This is something that I'm legitimately embarrassed about, but also something that I legitimately love. And I hope that you'll bear with me. My guilty pleasure song is an English sea shanty called Spanish Ladies, which I'm sure you well know. Like, well, it's like the rollicking, like British beer pubbing, swaying the beer back and forth kind of thing. But it's it's farewell and adieu to you Spanish ladies, farewell and adieu to you ladies of Spain. There's no reason to beleaguer the point.
Do you really sing those in pubs? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah, absolutely. I was at my little brother got married, and my uncles and cousins came over from England, and we were on the bus on the way back from the venue, and they're all musicians, so they started singing like these English pub songs. I was with my girlfriend who's from Colombia, and she's like, what are they doing? I'm like, they're English, they're drunk, and they're singing. It's what we do.
Wonderful. I'm going to give a shout out to my favorite YouTube show, and it's called The Try Channel, and it's all Irish comedians trying different things from around the world. And I learned from one of their videos, one of their drinking songs, and I'm going to sing it to you, and I'm going to use Mowbray instead of Ben because it works better with 2 syllables. But like, say you had a beer in your hand. Well, I just saw you take a shot. That works too. We like to drink with Mowbray because Mowbray is our mate. We like to drink with Mowbray because he gets it down in 8, 7, 6, and you chug a beer. So I taught my 5-year-old son that song when we're in the pool and he takes a bucket of water and pretends to down it.
Oh, you installed the problem.
I fucked up. All right, my guilty pleasure song. I ran it past my friend Michelle and she was disgusted with me. She said she hates it. So it makes it a real guilty pleasure song. But it is Lady in Red by Krista Burgh.
Oh, love that song.
Do you love it?
That is the classic. The lady in red is dancing with me.
You know, I don't even know if I love it that much, but I loved it when I was young. And it is the only song that I danced to at my senior prom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like we went just to show face and take the picture, and then we were like, let's get out of here. We had a beach house in Galveston to get to. And before we were going to walk out, that song played, and I grabbed my boyfriend and I said, we have to dance to this song because I've loved it for so long. And we danced to it, and my boyfriend at the time had multiple earrings in his ear, like his ears were pierced and like with loops. And during that song, the loops of his earring got caught in my heavily hairsprayed updo. And it ripped out a lot of my hair. And I was like, oh, screw it. Let's get out of here.
The lady bleeding red is dancing with me. I remember my dad singing that to my mom when I was a kid, probably like 5 or 6 years old. Like,
that's sweet.
Or his singing voice, the lady in red. That's a very sweet song.
It's very
I'm gonna go listen to that one now.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. Maybe everybody should go do that.
Guilty pleasures.
All right, what did we learn today? How do we sum it up with the wisdom? I think it's allow artists, give artists the room to explore and to communicate
also,
with you. Don't shut your mind off.
Yeah, if you don't like it, don't ever watch it again. Don't condemn somebody. You have a difference of opinion.
You don't like it, change the channel.
Exactly.
All right, Vogue.
That's a wrap on this week's episode of Rock the Cash Bar. Tune in every Monday to find out the new song of the week. Send us an email at rockthecashbarpodcast@gmail.com and tell us your personal misheard lyrics so we can read them on the podcast. You can also reach us at Twitter and Instagram at Rock the Cash Bar Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcast or wherever this podcast was downloaded.